Education Data Space. I'm so happy that you all made it here. We prepared some wonderful evening for you, so I hope you enjoyed it very much. According to our initial agenda, Professor Dr. Julian Polte was supposed to join us as well as one of the speakers, but unfortunately he had family emergency. So we sent him best wishes, but he convinced us saying the show must go on. So that's why we're all here. I really hope you will enjoy it. We're actually at the location which is called Data Space. It's SAP location for events, seminar, and workshops, but also it's home for many of our programs, such as SAP IO for startups or Intelligent Enterprise Institute for business transformation. And now, without further ado, I would like to say that let the session, Future Ready session, focusing on skills transformation for sustainable and inclusive world, begin. And I would like to introduce you the host for today, Stephan Balzer, CEO and co-founder of BOMA Global. Stephan, the stage is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Anna. And welcome everybody, and welcome online to everybody watching us. I'm very happy to be here, and actually it's a topic that is driving me for decades. I started 30 years ago in a time when digital was not known at all. And today, you know, I think we couldn't be more actual, because I think our government is discussing an immigration act. They call it the Skilled Immigration Act, Fachkräfteeinwanderungsgesetz. We love these German words because you add just, you know, endless words together. And it's all about the fact that we know we don't have enough skilled people in this country in many areas. So I think there couldn't be a better timing for this. And I'm very happy that we have all these experts here today. And we want you to be part of the discussion, because there is a lot of things to do. There's very different perspectives on this topic. And of course, SAP is one of the champions globally when it comes to IT, and the digital future is one of the companies, I think, that really made the best out of it in the last decades, creating such an incredible champion globally in IT. And we need more of SAPs coming up out of Germany, I think. So saying that, I would like to introduce our first speaker, which is, by accident, running innovation at SAP. He's running the Innovation Hub here in Berlin, and he will talk about a topic which is called Leading from the Future, and he will explain exactly what that is. So please welcome to the stage, Stephan Balzer.
Hi. Thank you so much. Welcome here again on behalf of Future Hub. Martin Wazowski, the Chief Futurist of SAP, is here as well. He runs the Future Hub, and we are very excited. Anna, also from our team. Anna and team, thank you for putting really a good show together. It feels nice and cozy. I'm excited. You guys can hear me well, right? So no need of microphone. Okay, excellent. Then I'll just run through what Stephan said. Exciting speakers, a lot of discussions. I'm hoping we are going to have a really, really interesting networking session afterwards as well. And well, let's begin with the first part, right? Leading from the future. Why? What is future? Are you somehow also future ready, right? So, like I said, in addition to the Future Hub role, I'm also co-founder of Intelligent Enterprise Institute Berlin chapter, and we have a couple of guests from the IEI, Ralph and Maya. Thank you for joining us. So let's. I love questions, and so do you. So what do you think? Are you future ready?
There's no option.
There's no option, right? Yeah, exactly. We are all future ready, because it somewhat feels like this. It's crazy. I guess each one of us, everybody, we are basically, going to live in the future from this moment on. So we better have an idea and see what's going on. And like, they have no clue. Do you think? Yeah, it's like a little bit like an action sport, right? It's going crazy. You think you know everything, and you suddenly say, maybe not, because it can feel very, very wrong when you're doing it extremely right. And that's why we say, look, absolutely. And I think Martin and I, we get this question very often. Can you predict the future? No, you cannot predict, but you can prepare. And let's look, what is it that we can actually prepare today? Because one of the tools that we need for preparation of the future is obviously the imagination. And that imagination is important, because if you can imagine it, you can shape it. If you can shape it, you can build it. But build what, right? Because future can have multiple pathways. Which do we choose? If we don't articulate all the possible futures, we're on, like everybody says, we'll be probably on the most likely future that's not only decided by you as a company or an individual, but the ecosystem, your competition as well. So these multiple future pathways, we have to create them, understand the possible futures, invest time in building that vision, choose the desired future, and work backwards to make it happen. That's a proactive way to work. And one of the tools that's very important that comes here is like, articulation of that. This is an articulation by our friends in NASA, right? The industrialization of space and so on. But when you show this beyond the white paper, it's like, okay, I understand what role, what competencies, what opportunities I can bring on the table, and I can contribute to this kind of future, this kind of possibilities. If it is desired, 7-Eleven can go and say, oh, I know, I can build a 7-Eleven here. All right, printing at zero gravity level. Look, I have that technology. I can actually bring in and make a few things happen. Imagine it, shape it, build it, show it, so that we can onboard the right skills at the right time. Now, when we talk about right skills, which is the topic for today, it gets very interesting as well, right? Because we are in a fundamental shift towards, ready to welcome Society 5.0. And that's where everything has to be relooked at as well. We've seen the Industrial Revolution, we've seen the media, we've seen the internet age, and now bringing back human in the center. I mean, Uli is here, and he's been talking about it and making plans with the D School to bring human back in the center of everything that we can do. And we got to fundamentally think different, right? Because we have designed processes, we've designed people acting on those processes, a bit more like machines than human, right? So how do a process that's very, very human friendly look like? Can it help me build the next society? Can it help me teach these kids? Martin, this picture. What do we actually even teach them to become relevant 10 years from now? They will be ready to take on. We probably have, no idea, right? Because it can't be prescriptive. We can prepare a little bit, but we can't say, okay, those curriculums we have seen, by the time you come out of the university, they are getting old. However, people collaborating with a sustainable learning system, and that's what we'll talk about, is the future of expertise, as we say. And for that, there's some fundamental changes that need to happen in how we have been able to manage organizations as well. Profit to purpose is not just a headline statement in the newspapers or your financial reports. We have to move away from strictly controlled hierarchies, plan it to the death and don't tell anybody behavior, to shift it into having a purpose-led networks of very, very empowered people, empowered employees to be able to drive that experimentation. And you all know very well, like empowerment just doesn't come like that. We as leaders have to enable it. And that's more the enablement part. Otherwise, nothing's going to happen. I said, thou art now empowered. It will not change anything. We have to, as leaders, figure out how can we enable those structures. And here is where the skills will play a new part as well. So what kind of skills are we talking about? We know that 50% of all the educated employed adults will need reskilling in the next couple of years. 2023 is just knocking the door. How do we do that? 101 days in a year is average, from our research, is like 101 days in a year is needed to be invested just in learning, but I don't know of any HR leader who actually has made a plan for the employees. Okay, here you go. So learning fundamentally changes as well. New skills, and new skills that are not necessarily being taught in the university by default. Collaboration, working with people, usage, more usage of technology. Welcome digital transformation. But how do we empower people to use those tools and the latest and greatest from the technology development? How do we think about, complex problem solving, critical thinking, analysis, understanding, actively learning? Maybe micro learning is the way, right? That's what we say. So this is we work with the World Economic Forum. You see that report. It's very important for every organization to understand where we head with that. And now why, right? I will tell you a funny story. We all are used to more or less this type, right? We had a 3-staged life. So we first basically get ready to work. Yeah, we learn, kindergarten, school, university degree, etc. And then we enter the labor market. Then we learn a little bit more at our work. There's very few times when somebody's taking things off your plate, but you learn more and more and more, right? And you grow with that. And with the hope that you retire at some point of time as well. We just talked about retirement in general. But no, welcome to the new approach. It's a multi-staged approach, actually. This is what you can see. We need to onboard one more new skill, which is called unlearning. And that's pretty crucial. We need to unlearn to relearn. And congratulations, there's no retirement after that, because the value that you create will be a new starting point of the value for somebody else. So that's the 3-stage life I wanted to share, because also we have to remember, while we do this and while we are building the Society 5.0 and getting organizations ready, we know clearly that future is not a solo act. Together, we got this. We have to partner in a very, very different way, build on each other's strengths, surprise the world sometimes. There are amazing partnerships happening, like with Sabyasachi, who was a designer available only for the elite from Calcutta in India, now ties up with H&M to lift up brand, the Uber, Spotify, Suzuki, Toyota. All these examples are surprising examples of how these new partnerships are being formed. We have seen also fundamentally economy of completion. Richard Branson, Virgin Galactic, Under Armour. Everybody thought, okay, they're eating a little bit of a market share from Nike or Adidas and so on. Suddenly, welcome, they are actually world's first commercial spacesuit provider. That's a partnership that's happening. And now that we're moving also across different worlds, because you, me, we will all have 3 worlds to live in now, right? So how do we think about skills in that case? A physical world that will never go away, the hybrid world that we can experience right now, hi there, and which is also seen, again, its importance during the COVID time, and the always virtual world as well. So how can we think and act across these worlds? And that's where right now a big talk about metaverse is happening. Whatever you say, it's a combinatorial opportunity, but these are some of the elements, technological developments, which will help us think, imagine, and act across all the 3 worlds. And we have to learn from other industries as well. Think gaming, but learn from gaming, but apply it into other industry. Can we think onboarding differently? Can we think compliance differently now that these things are available for us? And finally, I wanted to say, well, yes, welcome. It's really all about people, and people are the transformation. It's not the other way around. We don't have to focus only on the first 5% of the company, but the real other 95% is the real transformation that we are driving. I know some of you are thinking, which one is a virtual avatar or a synthetic one, which is a real people? Keep guessing, because in the end, we all have to ask ourselves, why are you relevant 10 years from now? And if we don't answer this, we probably will not be relevant. And being there and not being relevant is even more dangerous than other way around, you know that. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. Thank you very much. Let's think differently. Let's think skills differently as well. And I will give now back to Stephan. I hope I made it on time. So yes, very good. Thanks a lot. And we'll discuss later.
Thank you, Pim. Thank you so much. Thank you. This sounds like a great call to action, especially from a German Mittelstand perspective. So there's a lot of work ahead of us, and I'm very looking forward to our discussion later on. I'm very happy now to introduce our next speaker. And again, thank you for jumping in so short notice. I want to welcome Claudia Becker here, and I want to just describe a little bit your background because it's pretty interesting. Claudia has been involved in science. She has been involved in some further activities as well, in education. She is an entrepreneur as well. So she has seen many different perspectives on that topic. And I think there couldn't be a better one for us right now to share her experience with that. So welcome, Claudia Becker.
Thank you. So can you hear me? Yes. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to speak here because this is really one of my favorite topics, and it has a long to do with my background or working life. I want to talk to you about creative engineering from STEM to STEAM. We live in uncertain times, and due to multiple crises, our daily life had changed a lot. Things that seems to us unimaginable a few years ago has now become reality, the so-called new normal. But before the crisis of Corona, the Ukrainian war, the crisis in supply chain and manufacturing today, we had another shift in economy, which was called the digital revolution or the digital transformation, or what Upen called the society 4.0, the revolution that brought us the ICT technologies. But by facing this kind of crisis or changes in our society due to technology, we always think about how the relation is between the things and machines we build and the effects that has machines in our life. This is what I call, first, we shape our tools, and thereafter the tools shape us. And this is why I'm talking about, on the one hand, about the digital revolution brought to digital technologies like the invention of computers and the internet, and the other one, the digital transformation that has happened due to this technology in the use in our society. So especially the engineering and the manufacturing is shaped by digital technology nowadays. And we really think, we need to think how we can rethink this kind of technologies. So sometimes if we want to step further, we need to step back. Because every future needs an origin, or what we say in German, Zukunft braucht Herkunft. So almost 10 years ago, it is really 10 years ago, that the German government claimed the term of Industry 4.0. And it was a quite success. The whole world is talking about Industry 4.0. Yeah. But a few months ago, the Verband der Deutschen Maschinen- und Anlagenbauer, VDMA, VDMA, claimed on their annual conference that Industry 4.0 has failed. Till now, we haven't seen many technology of Industry 4.0. Why is it? Why we are struggling so much in our engineering culture with this development of 4.0 technologies? From my perspective, this is deeply connected to the framework and thinking models of the industrial age, because factories and machines were built in the industrial age, and they are born out of a mechanical thinking. What is the mechanical thinking? The mechanical thinking is a way of thinking that became prominent in our Western culture in the time of the industrialization. That means men start to build machines, and afterward we see ourselves and our world as machines. Like I told you, first we build the tools, thereafter the tools shape us. So in the corporate world, you find this very well expressed in our human resource departments. Yeah, because we are only human resources that feeds the big corporate machine. And a human is not an individual, it is only a spare part, yeah, that can be replaced easily by another human spare part. This is how we think society, this is how we think corporates, this is, yeah, our life. But we also see ourselves as machines. And I think this is really a beautiful picture from 1926, where it was really the high time of mechanical thinking. And this is by Fritz Kahn, Der Mensch als Industriepalast, human as a factory. And it shows really this imagination, everything is mechanical. Everything, even our organs, work like a corporate, a factory, a machine. So this is because our whole society till now is machine-centered design. We are talking today about how can we get a shift to human-centered design. Then we really need to rethink how our daily life is working. And even if you think you don't work in manufacturing, you don't work in engineering, your life is affected by this kind of mechanical thinking. Because why you work 8 hours a day? Because the workers can work 3 shifts. And 24 hours a day is 3 times 8. This is the reason why we have this 8-time working hours. You can now say, yes, but in the industrial age, the people worked much longer. Yeah, but they invented the workers' union to fit in the thing. And even the workers' union are invention of the industrial age. And from my perspective, this is why they are struggling with the term of new work so much nowadays, because they also need to rethink themselves. So what does it mean to create a human-centered design? We need to stop serving machines, and we need to start building machines, technologies, and systems that serve us. In German, wir bedienen Maschinen, aber wir müssen Technologien entwickeln, die dem Menschen dienen. That's the really huge difference in this shift in mindset and design and creation that we need, yeah, to rethink and rebuild. So how we can overcome our mechanical worldview, how we can, yeah, to overcome this mechanical centered world, we need to step back another time in history and not only look at our factories and machines, we even need to look at the modern engineer. Because the modern engineer also appeared in the time of industrialization and in the industrial life. This is also a creation of the industrial life. We never had this kind of idea of engineering before, because for a long time, there weren't so much difference, for example, between the engineer and the artist. For example, imagine the time of the Renaissance, where we had people like Leonardo da Vinci. He was an engineer and an artist, but this kind of idea disappeared and separated in the time of the industrial age. So for a long time in history, art and technology were connected to each other. So the really very roots of technology belongs to the old Greek word techne. And techne was translated into ars in the Latin. So ars and technology has the same roots. But yeah, in a longer time of history, they separated from each other, and especially the separation began in the industrial age. So what we can do now, how we can rebuild a kind of new education. This means we need to focus on the fields which are now prominent for modern engineering. These are the fields of technology, science, math, and engineering. So nevertheless, if we want to change this, we need to come to a new model of education. And this means we need to put the art back into the center of this kind of disciplines. And this is the idea of the so-called STEAM education. It's based on science, technology, engineering, arts, and math. And arts become a basic practice of this kind of education. Because in a world where everything is programmable, which can be programmed, creativity, imagination, and curiosity will become the future skills. So creative engineering is a model and methodology that is based on the idea of STEAM and that brings back the creative technological thinking and skills into the corporate world. So this is because only we can do it doesn't mean we should do it. And that's the reason why we should put back aesthetics and ethics back into the development of future technologies and societies. Thank you.
Awesome.
Okay, thank you, Claudia, and sorry for being late. I had to switch on my microphone so that everybody can follow me. Thank you, Claudia. That's a great insight. I think we have more footage for the discussion after that. I would like now to look into a project that we will see by our next speaker. And I want to explain the project because it's a long word. It is. So first, let's say hello to Pembe. Pembe will present a project where it's all as well about mindset and skills scarcity. And the project is called the Sustainable Future Through Carbon Data Collaboration. And Pembe Karahan, she's a senior software developer at the SAP New Ventures and Technology team. And I'm very curious to find out how the discussion we have here influenced your project. So welcome to the stage, Pembe, your stage. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stephan. So yeah, I'm Pembe. I'm from ICM Potsdam blockchain team. And I will give you some insights about carbon data collaboration today. As you all know, decarbonization is the biggest challenge of our time. And all companies, depending on the result that they want to achieve, change their strategies to more sustainable ones, optimizing their energy use, electrify it, or offset their carbon emissions by planting trees or generating renewable energy. But before choosing this strategy, and a wise decision on how to reduce their product footprint requires accurate calculation based on their actual data. So we need to take one step back and really, before choosing our strategy, focus to have an accurate calculation of our footprint. For this reason, businesses around the world need to connect data across a wide variety of systems from different industries and vendors. In a supply chain, independent of the size of the suppliers, everyone needs to be collaborative, every supplier and customer, and share their data because every company knows their operations the best. So this is a collaborative solution. Also size of the suppliers doesn't matter because a smaller size of company might have more emissions. So in this total production, they might have an important value. So everyone should collaborate. And this problem is not a problem. It wouldn't be possible for a single company can solve this problem for everyone, or some central companies come together and solve it for everyone. Because first, the suppliers might not want to depend on one single company to hold their confidential information. And second, like I said, every supplier knows their operations the best. So these are the two reasons. Since supply chains became global, they are even more complex right now. In other words, supply chains became global, but the digital solutions, regulations, and policies kept local. That's why we should think out of the box to tackle with this type of with such a problem, and because current local solutions are insufficient for that type of complex problem. When we look at current situation, vendors have some point-to-point integrations. They use some industry-specific applications. And we can see that current manual and point-to-point integrations are not efficient, and they are very costly. And when a new vendor joins the network, the number of point-to-point integrations scale up quadratically. So this became really costly when everyone uses their own system that is independent from each other, and they talk with different protocols in different languages. And also in this type of approach, where everyone uses their own solution, verifiability and auditability is very costly and very nearly impossible. So here also we must change our mindset and question the traditional solutions. And with our approach, only a standard protocol which have a similar messaging system can solve this type of a problem, but for all customers in the value chain. So what we offer in carbon data collaboration is standardized, collaborative, and interoperability solution, which talks the same language. And with this approach, when a new vendor joins the supply chain, there isn't any extra cost of onboarding because the verifiability and auditability also becomes automatized. With putting security mindset first, we had our researchers and used some internal and external know-how, and we come up with a solution to enable all the participants of the supply chain to share information freely and securely. We built our solution on open standards and open networks for increasing adoption and prevent vendor lock-in, to not push the suppliers to lock in and sign in just with one vendor. We chose portable and digital identities. So here we are giving the control of the identities to the suppliers, to the customers. They can control their own identities. We use verifiable credentials for keeping the emissions data. Verifiable credentials are a new standard that are, you can cryptographically verify the source, and they are also immutable. So once they created and signed, they cannot be changed. And we are also working on zero-knowledge proofs to verify accounting standards even further, and to make auditing processes more automatized. So in carbon data collaboration, companies first discover in this network, discover their partners, and then they directly can start to exchange messages. They can request carbon emissions from their partners. For instance, this manufacturer, if they need both upstream and downstream emissions, they connect with their partners and then directly request the necessary emissions data from their partners and get the answers. With this project, we are taking the first step to enable the international collaboration. And we believe a long-lasting solution should be vendor neutral. So that means we are also welcoming non-SAP vendors to join this network and collaborate to this global issue. And lastly, this is the same chain with a bit more details. It shows an alternative for requesting CO2 emissions. In short, we have discovered that it will be more flexible and more easier for our customers if we serve the option to share the raw energy data, like electric bills or some energy use documents, rather than or besides carbon footprints. So like I said, we are trying to make it very easier and to adopt this network first, because the adoption is important in the beginning. So we are currently discovering the needs of our customers from different industries with different perspectives. Like I said, yeah, we are now in collaboration with different customers and discovering their needs. Currently, we are taking their feedbacks as an input to our innovating system, and so that we would center ourselves a bit and not getting too far away from the actual pain points of the customers and the actual problems about the carbon data sharing issue. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Pembe. Thank you so much. So I would like to introduce, but to invite Claudia to come to the stage to open up our discussion. And as well, I would like to invite the audience here to ask questions. Got all these smart people sitting in the room, so I hope that we have a vivid discussion on the topics. And maybe I start with the two of you. If I look at what Pembe just described as an idea to actually have transparency all along the supply chain, and I look at all the people and the players involved in that process, and that you need to change the mindset of all the people involved. This is like a project I would say, okay, good luck. Great idea. Yeah. But I'm sure that it's a very challenging process, very challenging. And I know, probably here from a German perspective, there's a push for that because capital markets like ESG demands are requesting to do that, but it's an incredible work to do it on a global scale. From your side, we've seen different visions and ideas. And I asked myself, how can we take ideas to action? Locally and globally. Maybe we start with local. And Claudia, you've been involved in that. What do you think if we also look at your description of the skills that are needed and WEF? What is your view? Where are we here in Germany, if I may say? I know we have a global hub here, but we're in Berlin. Where do you see Germany when it comes to that mindset change and what is needed in the future?
Oh, wow.
You can be open. There's no censorship here. Yeah.
I need to say, I've seen different cultures and I worked a lot with different cultures. And yeah, the mindset shift for Germans are really difficult. My friends from Latin America, for example, they tell me, why are the Germans always think like this? Yeah, this in boxes. This is why we call it so much, or have this call for out-of-the-box thinkers. Mm-hmm. Another thing which I think is difficult to the topic you were presenting is this question of handling data and what is data. Yeah, so there is no education about this. 10 years ago, I digitalized the Willem Flusser archive, which is the archive for one of the so-called digital prophets of the digital age. He was a very good philosopher for artists and practitioners. And yeah, you always need to create new databases, how to organize data and metadata and so on. I worked a lot in my life with this kind of question and to teach people database thinking. I call this because in the media art, you always took, okay, let's take this data set and let's do funky shit with it. Yeah. So this is how media art works. And this is how I got bored of media art after some years, because it's always taking some data, doing something with technology and make beautiful things with it. Yeah, but there's no purpose. This was my problem why I stepped out of it, because I wanted to have an effect on the world. But yeah, I think this is from the German perspective a very tough thing, but also from in general from this question of collecting data, how to manage data, how to organize data. I mean, data is not there for objectivity, because in this place, do I take this data point or this? This is already an intentional decision. So you never grasp an objective reality with it.
when it comes to education, where do you see us right now? Like, let's say we start with secondary school up to university. Do you think we're ready for this? Because we're talking about future readiness, right? And I would like to question the future readiness of the Industriestandort Germany. Are we ready or not? And is our education system, if you would give us a mark, we love marks in Germany. 1 is like very good, as you know, and 6 is very bad. So where are we? What do you think?
I would say 7.
Oh, okay. Probably we need explanation here and also some feedback from the audience. Upen, you were quoting, and of course the picture you describe is it's all about future readiness, and we need that. You work at SAP, you have global Fortune 500 companies. You work with DAX companies. You've seen leadership, you see leadership every day. You see it in different parts of the world as well. Yeah. I know it's not an easy question, but I would like you to comment on the mindset level of a German leader in that sector. And if you can you compare it to, let's say, Asia, North America, maybe, South America, Africa? Are there differences? Would you say there's certain cultures that allow us to be faster here and others that don't? Where are we?
Oh, thank you. It's fully loaded one. Let's take it one by one. So first part on your question, what is the readiness of the German side? I just came back from a big tour of Asia. Spent a lot of time, 10, 12 days in with different state governments of India. And I can tell you that they think we're more ready than we actually are here in Germany. Okay. So there's a perception that, yeah, because Made in Germany has worked until now. And you said that very well, but how long? And that's really the question. We are looking at a lot of frugal innovation in the Asian countries, in Southeast Asia, in India, that's helping them frog leap, right? Leapfrog, leapfrog. It's my jet lag. Yeah, so it's the leapfrog that is happening, but I believe there's lots that we can actually bring here and learn on how we can be a bit more modular and very quick in thinking. I think we're still spending a lot of time planning to death, right? I don't think we have that time anymore. I think we need to, future is faster than you think, but we're not thinking fast enough. And that's my observation. There are a couple of examples you will see which have not come to the mainstream yet, but from Latin America. I mean, it's a lot about community driven. Very quickly, they can assemble community of tribes and for a single purpose. And anchoring that purpose in organizations has been a little bit difficult. If you go to the shop floor somewhere in Germany, say, hey, this is my company's vision, but what is my contribution to that? That gets lost somewhere. I need to do X, Y, Z by the end of my shift, as you said. And that is a challenge. So from a skills perspective, it's look at this, open source. My God, that's tough to imagine over here, right? But a number of different approaches you have to take in terms of mindset. Yeah, it's fine. Let's open our data. Let's collaborate. And this whole collaborative thinking, I think that needs a push. That needs fundamental shift in mindset, part one. Second, enablement. How can leaders enable? That's all right to fail. Failing is learning. Failing is not being able to deliver X, Y, Z. And I think that's where we can do a lot better.
Okay, because I would like to see the reaction, and we have some questions coming up already. I would like to see the reaction of let's say, a typical executive board level that you go to in Germany, somewhere in the area of Baden-Württemberg or wherever, and then you show your chart with retirement, and then you show the other chart, right? It says you learn, you unlearn, you learn, you unlearn, you unlearn, and then I think it's an interesting dialogue that you have, and I don't want to blame people here, but my feeling and what you can read about and etc. is that we're struggling. Yeah. Like Germany struggles with anything that has not a process like this. Like you say, we have the boxes, right? And we have that clear plan, and we are really good if the plan is there and we execute. Don't mix it up, right? Don't interrupt and say, oh, we have to go this way. Very, very difficult for us. Yeah. And I wonder if this is maybe could be a disadvantage for us moving forward for the next 10, 20 years from the industry perspective, if we can't do it, if we can't, make that shift.
Yeah.
And I always ask myself, is it a generation thing? What is it? Like, why is it so difficult for us, right? Maybe we have some experts here that can explain. I think Uli had a question and Olaf had a question. Olaf, question or comment or question.
I actually have a question to both of you.
Yeah.
We have from Upen, we've heard at the very beginning, well, we have so much to learn in 2025. So that's something that really resonated with me. And I heard from Claudia, well, we got to unlearn and we got to build a whole new educational way of thinking. So I was, it came to my mind, okay, if that's the plan, we got to learn a lot, as you said, until 2025. And you said, oh, we got to rethink in the way how we drive education. I always, point out leaders are learners, and the company can only grow as fast as the leaders learn and grow. So if we have understood that from our mindset, what can a CEO do in order to foster the new mindset thinking? Because I know in Germany we're talking about our education system to change for more than 40 years, I think. And what's happening?
Yeah.
So there's another proof point what you're saying that we're way too slow.
Yeah.
So if we kind of feel ourselves responsible as a leader or part of a leadership team member, or even the CEO, what can the CEO do? What can a leadership team member do to support this mind shift change and the way of thinking that we need to break, unlearn, whatever? That's my question to both of you. I don't know who wants to start.
Yeah, thank you.
You want to start? I can.
Claudia?
I'm ready. It's a good question.
Yeah, thank you for. What?
It's a
It's the-
microphone.
That's the coolest microphone.
I thought it was something to shave.
Thank you for this question. I think in Germany, the crash in industry will be very hard. There are some companies who do it really well, this so-called digital transformation. And they are really pushing things forward. Yeah, so there are some manufacturers that are really good, but there are also many which has a very traditional, old, hierarchical, patriarchal organization and leadership, and these are the companies that will die. So I think there won't be a kind of smooth transition. So the one will die and the other will succeed very well. This is from my perspective, because sometimes you have also leaders that want to break the hierarchies, but the employees don't want. So this is in these fields we often work, so that I do also co-leadership with the leaders, so that the team get trained on what you said about the mindset shift. I can tell you that after 2 or 3 months, the people start to think differently if they work with us. But it is a working thing, It is not a PowerPoint thing. We don't do PowerPoints in corporates, So we have projects and real life projects, not these projects that don't have any effect on the company. No, these are really tough projects, and this is where we step in, where we work with the companies and the leaders and the team to foster this transformation. Because from my perspective, this is the only way you can do it, by doing. So this is my perspective.
Absolutely, and very good point, by doing. And there could be some tips and tricks that the leaders can use for doing that, right? Number one, I think let's recognize that the days of the conductor-led orchestra are over. Let's bring in a bit of jazz, situational leadership. Allow the right people and have the right people in the room for making those discussions fast. I think that's where a lot of this hierarchical thinking has stopped us. So if we have the right people in the room to discuss, I think that's important. Situational leadership, encouraging that, and I, in order to really drive inclusion, we have to respect diversity differently. Diversity in all forms of ideas, not only gender, where we're probably doing have some many companies have some KPIs even. So that really fosters that innovation behavior. And I can see Mark here. Mark is dealing with the Mittelstand almost every day, helping them servitize their business. And you can see there's some fundamental lacks you might be seeing compared to the others. If you want to share something, I just servitizing is not easy. It's not a mindset of Germany, right? And not Central Europe. We're more productizing. We're very good in productizing. But now we need to move to the next level, servitizing it.
Yeah.
How do you see?
I mean, to start with, you said to have the right people in the, you said you need to have the right people in the room.
Mhm.
In the Mittelstand, the room is getting increasingly empty. That's a bit of that's a bit of trouble. While larger companies like SAP still find the people they need, it's more difficult in Baden-Württemberg, outside the bigger towns. So coming to Claudia, clearly the drive to develop technologies that augment and serve the people that remain is very critical, and I see big openness in the Mittelstand to discuss technologies like that. Context-sensitive assistance systems, systems that help people on board a lot faster, because when you get hold of someone who wants to work for you, you don't ask what's your experience or what have you done this before, but how fast can you learn what is needed for that job. Routine will go away from most jobs, so clearly the focus on the arts is very strong. So I think this is the practical problem they deal with. So how can we do the same with less people? And whatever is supportive of that endeavor is most welcome. This is what I say to that.
Thank you. Yes, please, after that.
I was just going to say,
I'm thinking of, I'm absolutely fascinating about the quote, the tools shape us, and sorry, we shape tools and the tools shape us. Architecture have been using it for so long because it's so, and music is a good example. Just to, we couldn't play the music we listen to today until we have digital instruments, for example. It was not only unthinkable, it was unimaginable. Maybe you could think about it like, if this guitar sounded, tools shape us. We have a major tool in this business, especially for sustainability, a major platform of tools where we run enterprises. And when we do it, the only thing we focus on is to manage resources. So we have an enterprise. Okay, what do we do? Manage resources. How? In rigorous planning to death. If that's, sorry, SAP, I'm from SAP. If ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning, is that tool. It constructed the flow, the rigidness, the rigor, the fantastic stability we have. And I have many ideas, but I would love to hear from you. Because these tools, then they shape us. We become robots, planners, and resource shifters and managers. And the only enterprise we think of is mining enterprise. How can we shift this tool array or this tool field to something you can
Thank you for this question. I really have to laugh about this, yeah, because
Uli has a comment to that.
Isn't that a question to yourself? Yeah, I know. I just outsourced it. I'm planning my resources differently.
I need to say, 10 years ago, when I stepped out of the university life, my last research project was with the Helmut Schmidt Universität der Bundeswehr, with the professorship of accounting. And we were discussing the SAP-isierung of the companies, that the companies started to follow, to work in the realm of SAP, and especially what can we do against this? It was also the arising of the intangible assets.
Oh, we have to shut down the live stream. Sorry, no, I'm joking. No.
He was asking
and
invited me.
Talk about this project. Very interesting project. This was not staged. It's coincidence.
And it was the rise also of the intangible assets. So WhatsApp was sold for 18 billions, only a few servers and a few men, and 10 years ago, big factories were sold for less money. So how can that be? Our conclusion was we need to rethink the whole accounting system of companies. So what I could offer SAP to make some workshops, especially on how to rethink also this software. Because I also need to say I was once a chief digital officer, and I'm very good with technology, but this graphic user interface, I couldn't handle.
We don't know what she's talking about, right? No.
So be open and transparent.
Absolutely.
So,
That's your answer.
Yes, human machine interface.
No, I'm seriously. On the one hand, we should look on the question how the software is built, which mechanism has it, maybe also to rebuild it. I know it from other companies who are running SCADA systems, for example, for our engineering networks that are more like 15 years old, which also should be renewed, because there are bugs and everything else inside. And the whole system, how one part works with another, should be rethought. This is why still our companies work like this, because there is this enterprise resource planning tool I don't mention here. And this is why we need to set up a totally, from my perspective, new software. Also something which is maybe more modular. For example, it was short before Corona. We supported a very big manufacturing company by building up a cyber physical system. This is the special word for a smart factory. And it was very interesting to see that we tried to build a system that you can look, okay, it should be more sustainable, it should be more fast. And we totally changed the whole production manufacturing process, because normally you have this pyramid, with the ERP and the MES and the SCADA and so on. And we totally changed this, and we built we called it a smart production tag. And this was put on the product, and the product itself was guiding itself through the production. So we built a system, and we always started the presentation, and we didn't know what happened because it was a system which was controlling itself. So this, from my perspective, could be things that should be developed and rethink.
Thank you.
Thanks, and I'm glad we are actually rebuilding. So that's the good part. Martin mentioned in the last talk, right? So far, we have built systems that we have to learn. We are now building the systems that learn us, respect us, and that's the human machine. So this is what we are already working on. So that's good, because that was a massive transformation. The change from digitizing to now digitalization. I hope fundamentally we start to agree that it's not the end user. It's actually your first user. Then we can construct systems differently. In the past we have built systems to last forever. Not because of the technological challenges. It's the human who designs that. Let's build it forever. But right now we need to design fundamentally the systems to adapt and change as quickly as you want to do. So I think it's our job as leaders to recognize that and enable systems that should adapt, right? I think humans can do it. Technology is the easiest part. You can code it, you can recode it, and the new stuff is available. But that again brings me back to what kind of learning. In the last 20, 30 years in the B schools, what do? Plan it well, no risk, plan short term, reward quarterly. We have to fundamentally look at the long now. We have taken our eyes off long term. right? Because we're rewarding short term. We aren't really rewarding. How many companies have rewards for long term? And I think that's, as leader, to your point, it's another tool. Enable and reward that long term thinking with short term success points. Not other way around. The goal is long term, but success points can be celebrated. The milestones can be always celebrated, but think long term, right? So that's very important. Yeah.
Olaf.
Just a comment to
Microphone. Wait a second for the microphone.
a comment to what I just heard. You were mentioning earlier that Da Vinci was not only an engineer, but he was also very well in arts. So if I put that into certain industry, you can see where the designers kind of fight with the engineers, especially in the automotive sector, for example. But they're starting to begin the balance in that sector. Looking at our industry, maybe plain mechanical engineering, whatever kind of, I don't see that. I don't see the arts element.
Mhm.
So when I listen to you, I understand that we need to bring the right people in the right room with the right experience to design the new. What would that mean in terms of, who should we pay in the future to take this idea and the struggles that we sometimes see, and how do we maybe change the rule and education of the people? Because currently our education system, doesn't have all the different aspects that we probably need in the future. So what should we do?
Mm-hmm. There's a comment. Uli has a comment. One second. Wait for the microphone. Same topic. Yeah.
There's one more.
One more. Great.
We have left and right now.
I might have an answer.
Great. That's great. Wait a second. Uli, please answer.
I might have an answer. But it's actually a very small one. I'm running the School of Design Thinking at Potsdam, and we're exactly doing what you were asking for. You're bringing the engineers with the artists, with IT guys, all those people together. But it's a very small amount of people. And since 15 years, I'm running that thing. And we just looked at the project portfolio. We did 580 projects in the meantime. And we have about 2,500 students. Looking at, and they are learning these kind of skills. Upen, you were pointing on, and Claudia, you were pointing on. But this is a very small amount of people. But as soon as they are off that 1 semester or 2 semester program, they are completely unlearned. And I'm fully with you that unlearning is something which we have to do nowadays, because our education system is so 7, as you are pointing. I would call it 8 or 10. It's dangerous. It's actually doing worse things to our kids, because it's not preparing them to the world we're living in. It's actually doing the opposite. It should be punished that the guys who are running that system, still, the ministers, they should be punished in prison. Yes, because they are doing harm to thousands of people.
We will quote this tomorrow in the Tagesspiegel. Yeah, we put them into prison.
Don't worry,
No. No, but I think it's an important point.
Actually, we need more of this kind of education. And Hasso Plattner, the co-founder of SAP, who was actually funding this kind of education, the design thinking education, looking at the people at Stanford. So even himself, he was not able to kind of multiply that thinking. It is just not enough, and we are not fast enough. And I'm doing it since 15 years. I'm really somehow disappointed about myself, because when I was starting that 15 years ago, I was saying that so clearly that we need this kind of new thinking, of collaborative thinking, of not individual grading, of teamwork, of teams work. That is so clearly that we need it. So in 20 years from now, from that time, we don't need that kind of special education. We don't need to unlearn people, because the education system, the learning system, it is not a learning system. That is the problem. We are all educated.
Martin.
We are not trained to learn. And this, you're pointing on the right thing. So we need to de-learn now to become learners in the future. And this is the task of the education system, nothing else. and they still behave like educators, we know best.
Of course. Martin, you want to add to that?
Absolutely.
Martin, and then Olaf? Microphone.
Thank you. Fantastic, yeah. Thread our educational system with Jay, I think it's a good thing. I have some relationship with the Swedish educational system, and it's still holding large. Anyway, my question is to everybody, the tools we talk about, let's enlarge them again. The tools that around the world, by any company out there, IT tools, they're building the enterprise resource planning tools. And they are also in the realm of one big tool, which is the socio-economical system, which is neoliberalism at best. Okay? And neoliberalism is failing fantastically. It brought us so far, just to state that, it's amazing how capitalism brought us to sit here and discuss this. We go into space and we might, just to establish the baseline. Okay, fine. Now, I can hopefully say it's also shit for the next 50 years. It will destroy us. That tool, by your definition, puts humans into utility. So basically I'm doing a spectrum where the opposites are art and utility. In between there is design. So you take artistic, innovative idea, you design and engineer for me the same thing, into utility on the market. That market is a tool. We place it in another tool that spits out products and utilities for human beings, for example, energy, etc. Now, however we change that design and engineering tool, it still only serves one part of the diagram, not the other, which is the artistic, imaginative, and innovative. At the same time, the faster the future is, the requirement of innovation, artistic thinking, and absolute crazy imagination is dearer than ever, but it's not in the description of the tool. Yeah. So we're looking harder in the same direction, utility, to kill a question that is totally outside that direction. How do we deal with that, anyone?
It's true. Good question. Yeah. Olaf, you wanted to comment?
Yeah, I had
a
question too, so it's fine. Let's answer the question.
Oli has more comments. We have a conversation going on here.
It was an open question, not specific to you, but
Oli.
It calls me something. So I'm talking always about what we are doing at the D School as kind of the cultural and social dimension of digital transformation. Everything what we are doing has nothing to do with technology. Nothing. Yeah. It just works with humans. Yes, we are using some hybrid tools now, but the core things we are doing, bringing people together from different disciplines, appreciating diversity, practicing small teamwork, collaborating, not judging and grading individuals, not even teams. That's the worst thing what we're actually doing, to grade individuals. That keeps us really from cooperating, which is necessary, from networking. So all those things, and being in a special space. We have it here at SAP. The furniture we developed 15 years ago, there was no collaboration furniture on the planet. Not there. It was just coffee tables and meeting tables and this kind of stuff we always had. And non-linear process, non-linear thinking. So those three core things have nothing to do with technology. You don't need any computer, not even an abacus. Yeah. So this kind of dimension we have to address. Not talk first on, I met one CEO, 1,000 employees, he was proudly saying, I gave one iPad to every employee, 1,000 iPads. I said, wow, great. That doesn't help.
How do you do it?
It doesn't help. Exactly. If you don't help them to think in a different way, they will not use those iPads. So,
but coming back to that, I think this is, listening to this, it comes back to the individual human being, right? Because people that call you at D School teams, I would say they already have a very different idea on where they want to go, right? So I think the ones that actually should go and see you, they don't even know you exist, right? They don't even know, probably don't even see a necessity to change. The question is, and as you said, Claudia, probably they die. Probably some of them, maybe some survive, because I think it's, you know, I remember, you know, the times when we were running Singularity, the Singularity summits, you know, from stage, we always said the future, every company in the future will be a software company. Every leadership team, every CEO has to understand software and thinking in software. And then, of course, if you're in fashion, you will be a software company that happens to produce fashion, or you will be a software company that happens to produce maybe a laptop. Right? These were like, we were trying to provoke people in the audience to really rethink this, you know, who they are. And if you then look at the data, and we have some data, there's some research done. I think even SAP did some research on leadership skills when it comes to basic technology understanding in German companies. It's striking how poor it is, like depressingly poor. You know, if you look at Geschäftsführung, Vorstand, and if you go to the board, like Aufsichtsrat, supervisory board is even worse, because then you are hitting a generation that is 60 to 85, that are low tech to no tech. So if that is the future, and if companies need to shift the organizational model, I don't know, I get depressed listening to this, knowing how little knowledge we have. So where do we start? Like, where do we start? Because we can't put those people in prison. Manuel.
Just a second, I think it took another direction.
Oh, but you can comment anytime. We have a microphone. Wait a second.
I have it here.
You have it. Fantastic. Please.
Yeah, I'm part of the Intelligent Enterprise Institute, and I'm going to go very personal into the comment that I wanted to do, because I was working very much into everything related to innovation advisory, and then I became a mom. So toddler education is where it starts, and it starts from parents just celebrating what the kid did and know what he did in order to get there. So you're like, oh, this is so great, you painted a great picture, and why did you choose these colors? How was the process to get there?
You did great.
Exactly, you did great, which is, it has no meaning, it's abstract, and they don't understand. So you're programming people to be chasing success, short-term success, and also some sort of validation of what you do. Right. And this is what we do in companies too. So now, if you're not one-to-one, what do we need to do for early education and also employees, and teach them how to learn and become human again, and not just a resource? Is one of the things that we need to start celebrating failures, celebrating long-term successes, and also allow them to have an environment where they can actually do and experiment all this stuff. And the green light, or the light at the end of the tunnel, is that there are some programs now, like Harvard Project Zero, or Making Thinking Visual, that are teaching toddlers how to start building up this new mindset or skill set in critical thinking and uncertainty, and actually managing challenges and not just learning the process to get there. So yeah, we have a good start, I guess, just recognizing this and making this aware. And the companies will figure out, okay, if I don't change anything, I will maybe soon die. It's a good pressure to have, so that people start changing.
Thank you. I think Manuel first. Manuel, you had a comment?
Over here.
Over here, yep.
Yeah, hey, I'm Manuel. My company is offering future readiness programs for leaders and managers since about 5 years now. We work with about 2,000 executives so far, and what we've seen, change is happening, mind shift is happening, and people are able to relearn these futuristic capabilities within a few days, and you would for sure agree. It's there. Children can do it, and you can relearn it within a few days. But what we experience after these few days of relearning these capabilities, people go back in their own corporate system, and it's really toxic. And they get very frustrated because the system is not adapting. We have leaders like Olaf Scholz without any vision. We have corporate CEOs without any vision. And it's all what you said, open short-term profits and no long-term perspective. So what I want to say is I think there is potential out there, and we worked last week with the current students of Chaos Pilot. Great people, young, well-educated leaders, but they don't know which company they want to work for because it's boring for them. So we need bold visions from the corporate side, and if it's not there, we get the leaders we want, we get the tools we want, we just stay the same forever.
But we vote for them even for these leaders, right? I mean, we freely, you know.
So what I want to say is, let's be really bold also on the top of companies.
Yeah.
We need a new strategy, a long-term vision for all of us.
Comment? I want to comment on this, on the leadership, because there might be a structural bias here as well when it comes to the position of leadership positions that we have here in our area. I was participating in a dinner, and there was the former CEO of a large executive search company, and he was presenting the difference in research for top leaders in industry in Germany, Germany compared to North America. Very interesting. And he said, there's such a fundamental difference if you get hired as an executive search company to find somebody advisory board or find a CEO, etc., from a German advisory board in North America. And he said in North America, they look for someone, especially in times of change and transformation, they mainly look for people who have the ability to communicate well, strong charisma. So it's very interesting. He said it's not so much about your CV. They don't look into the CV. They look at what personality you have. Mm-hmm. And if you are able to change a company that maybe has 10,000s of people, communicate and change this tanker that is in the sea, and it takes time. So this is how they act in North America. And of course, everybody was asking, what about Germany? And he said, well, the interesting part is in Germany as well, how much is the communication charisma side and the CV side? And he said, it's reciprocal. So in Germany, it's mainly about the CV, and not so much about communication skills, charisma, leadership skills. They are not so relevant. It's not so relevant. So I think it's a cultural thing, because we really want to know that, if you want to run an automotive company, you should be an engineer because you have to know about the product. So this is how it used to be. It changes right now, but I think that was very interesting for me to hear that here it's very different. It's very different the way we put these people in. And if you then ask for bold visions, bold visions coming from people who mainly did look at the career of a CFO in Germany. CFOs can make it to CEO in Germany like in any other country. We have a lot of ex-CFOs now running these companies. I mean, nothing against data and numbers. It's great, but usually I would say they're not the most visionary people, because they're qualified by cutting costs and keeping numbers together, something that the advisory board loves, and then they become CEO. So maybe this is also something. Maybe there's some
interesting observation.
Interest in there. And Nikki, you want to comment on that?
Yeah. Actually, at the beginning of the session today, you mentioned a side note, something that I think is really very significant, an act that's currently supposed to be passed into law.
Absolutely.
On sort of qualified immigration. And it's interesting because we've had this discussion in Germany, talk about mindset in Germany over, 20, 30 years. How do we actually become an immigration country?
Yeah.
And now at least we're focusing on economic immigrants. And the interesting thing was, and I heard this interview today, actually wasn't Olaf Scholz, but it was the leader of the opposition, Merz, who said, well, the system's flawed, or the act is actually flawed, because it doesn't, it accounts for people that don't have degrees, right? Which essentially says, going back to today's topic, which is skills, you're not skilled if you don't have a degree. Yeah. So my question, actually to the room, but also particularly to the two panel speakers, is In a world of constant sort of, in an expert economy, adaptive, constant need, or need to change and be adaptive. What are the thoughts about what makes a skill a skill? Right? How do we, if we have a shortage, we have the Great Resignation, we have all the big quits and all the topics and headlines that are going on. How do we actually start filling that gap where the degree is no longer about the assessment, it's about what I learned in university, which might have half-time, maybe 2 years, or I constantly, quoting a CEO that I used to work with, you have to qualify every single day, right? How do we deal with that? And particularly, how do we deal with that in Germany, right? North America accounts for about, I think, 40% of the global spend on corporate learning and corporate training.
Yeah.
Asia, India accounts for another 40%. Europe is about 20%, obviously, so that's the math. And within Europe, it's about 20% the UK spends. So the rest, including one of the biggest economies in the world, Germany, is like minutia. I'd love to hear your thoughts on how do we get to a more experience-based expertise and qualification system.
That's a big question.
That's a big question, but I'm happy. I think one of the trends, continuous learning, is a trick. We have to look beyond the traditional 4-year, 2-year, and how do we enable that continuous learning is going to help us shape those skills as well. Micro learnings is another new pattern you saw. I mean, HPI also with the open HPI curriculum, everybody. That's the place where I fundamentally believe these kind of strategies should help us drive inclusion, right? Education was supposed to be very specialist. We need to democratize it in a way that we can drive more inclusion. And that is possible via a few of those tricks, micro learning, open it out, and let everybody who can, irrespective of what is the way in, having those multiple pathways. I'm actually working with Professor Polte, he's not here today, on a very specific manufacturing part. I wanted to get to that you mentioned. When the manufacturing, we know in the past has been very subtractive, right? So you build a big piece and carve out something small out of that. Now it's changing, right? It's additive. So the design needs to be looked at differently. You can actually onboard so many different skills and expand that knowledge digitally so that more people can actually contribute in the core, the new manufacturing way as well. And these are some of the hints that we can see. Can we now bring outside the university? We have so many. You mentioned about being a mom and staying home for a couple of years, and then when you come back, hey, you want to work only 20 hours a week, and you have the skills, and you can get into learning some of these advanced manufacturing skills and contribute from a creator economy perspective, contribute back as well, and continue to learn that. So I don't have a single, answer, but there are many small moves that we will need to do. But one more comment to the Germany part, and I really extensively, since May, we've been on the roads, Asia and US, etc. I believe we have a big opportunity here in Germany if we stop thinking and comparing ourselves just best in Europe. I think we need to go to global thinking and try to compare with global metrics. Opportunity is there, I believe, but we need to have the right comparison, and then, because if we think then that global, so that we can act locally everywhere, that is something that will drive inclusion, which will then help more new ways of learning, onboarding, reskilling, upskilling. That's one part of it, right? You have, I'm sure. Sorry, long answer, but
no problem. It's a very interesting question, and I try to answer it with an image of Heinz von Förster. He was a famous cybernetician, and he was explaining trivial machines. And he said, our education system works like a trivial machine. You put some input in, and you know already what output comes out. And this system, this program of our educational system needs to change fundamentally. And we have some roots here in Germany. I mean, this background, this whole thing I was telling you is because I was educated in this kind of education. It's called it's a kind of idea or theory where arts, technology, and science is the same. So we have one of the biggest building here in Germany. It was funded in the beginning of the 80s as the Center for Arts and Media. And I was educated there in the research lab. It was called the Institute for Visual Media. It's at ZKM,
Yeah,
yes.
ZKM Karlsruhe, right?
ZKM Karlsruhe. Nobody knows it in Germany, but it's really famous internationally. So it has the same place like the MIT Media Labs. So, and we worked there, and our mission was to create new technologies. When I then started to work with engineers of the big corporates, they asked me, Claudia, where do you have your skills? Yeah, where do you learn all this thing about technology? I mean, you're an artist, yeah? I'm an engineer. I should know all this kind of things. And this was the first moment where I rethought this, yeah? That my mission, my first employee, my mission was create new technology for society, yeah, for the arts and society and the sciences. So this was our mission. We played with technology. We had RFID chips in 2005, yeah. In industry, they had it in 2012. There is a video of mine 15 years ago where I play Quake in 360-degree panorama. It sounds strange for you, but now Unity is coming with all the AR and VR technology into industry. Yeah? We did this 15 years ago. And this was a time where NVIDIA, for example, was only known by gamers and not by Volkswagen. Yeah. So, and this, of course, is where all my knowledge come from and my experience, because we played with technology. Yeah. So I opened up a computer because, we needed to open up, to build something new. So I wasn't afraid of technology. And when we had one big, this was very funny, big project with a big corporate, this cyber physical system, we had huge robots, and they all were really afraid of robots. And I made always these jokes about the robots and so on. And on the last day, I started to dance on the robot, And the whole engineers was like, whoa, I mean, I was the only woman. Maybe it was not so clever. But at the end, we all danced on this automatic robots, And after this experience, it was one of our first projects, we decided, okay, they have really fear of technology, while we are really like, using this, doing this, making crashes, Because this was my education or use of technology. And I think there are routes, but we need to, make them bigger and not to cut them down.
Nikki, directly?
Yeah, respond to that also. I think just exactly that way of thinking plays into, concepts like career mobility. If I say I'm in marketing, but I started dabbling around with data science or design or whatever, and I'm going to move on my linear sort of path, a career path, but I want to move to another position. It's really interesting to see how many companies, particularly in Germany, don't embrace that, because you've been trained to be government affairs or accountant or whatever. I can't let you suddenly move somewhere else. With, by the way, in a talent supply shortage-driven market, that's actually a real great opportunity, career mobility. But then, interestingly enough, you see a lot of companies, particularly that work globally, that actually embrace that concept. I think very successfully. I think it takes more of that mindset that you showed.
Yeah, we have to learn that.
Absolutely, can concur.
Anna, there's a comment as well.
Actually, one comment I wanted to mention earlier, just to finish my thought, is I love what I'm hearing, and I absolutely can agree with everything. But I also thought about from a different perspective, actually, because I'm remembering my way. After finishing the bachelor, I moved to Germany, and I was thinking what the market needs. These are my skills that I got so far. And the market actually told me I need a master's degree now, because it's much better in Germany, you'll have high salary.
You see?
I started to look around the masters, and I just choose the one which fits the most based on my bachelor, but not exactly the one I actually wanted, but I couldn't get where I wanted because my bachelor didn't fit. So I did this 3 years master degree. I said, and now I see, based on what I do now, which was an extreme grateful learning, I see that my master degree is just a paper, unfortunately. And I actually want to also get back to how I was looking for a job. When I'm looking for the job, companies themselves actually write, oh, you need to have 7+ years of experience in this and this industry. So it was mostly about the skills that you kind of get from those, what we know, education of Germany, and then maybe last point from the list of the bullet points, nice to have, great personality, team player, and you feel like, okay, I just have to go back to the education, get more skills, plus it's very hard to find a job without the working experience. And that's the situation actually in Germany and also in other countries. I know that it opens also more questions and comments. I'm so sorry, but all good things must come to an end. But so that better things can come in instead. So we actually, if we can bring up, I want to give Lucas, just 1 minute. So we actually can already close for this. I'm giving the closing minutes for Stephan and Upen, and then we prepared some.
Yes. So I'm sorry, guys. We have to cut you off. You heard we did some great bashing on politicians, on incapable CEOs. We did some bashing on old ERP SAP systems that, of course, don't exist anymore and that are renewed. But I want to thank you for joining the conversation. And you can be sure that we will have a great discussion right now happening here. So please come back next time. Thank you. And we all say goodbye to you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us online. And see you soon.
And for us, everybody is getting hungry.